Kathy Shimatero here, and I am going to be teaching a summary on chapter 9 and 10 of my book on the cross. And I have the book here, and I also have the study guide that goes with it. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of tidbit on each of those two chapters because they are life-changing when we really understand all that Jesus did when he died for us on the cross. And the first one I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to read from John 13:1, and it says, "Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to the Father." So this is the time Jesus is going to end up, going through his passion. He knew his time had come. And it says in the very next sentence, he had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. So he's with the 12 disciples. They're at the Last Supper, and he loves his disciples. He's emphasizing there how much he loves them. And then in verse 2, it says, "It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus." So now Jesus was being betrayed by one of the 12 disciples that he really loved. We have to remember that Judas was with Jesus through his whole 3 years of ministry. He saw him raise people from the dead. He saw him cast out devils. He saw him walk on water, heal the sick. He was blessed to be able to actually be with Jesus and witness all the things that Jesus did. And yet he still chose to betray him because he had evil in his heart. Now, Jesus went through betrayal just as his passion began, and it was really important that he went through betrayal because betrayal is one of the worst sins that man does to man, or that we do to each other. If you've ever been betrayed, and most people have, you know how devastating it is. It's like someone that you loved, you trusted, took a knife and thrust it into your heart and twisted it, and you just feel totally devastated. Jesus can only be betrayed by somebody that he loved, somebody that he was close to, because betrayal really affects you when it's someone that you care about. And so betrayal is something that can really stop you in your tracks. I remember years ago visiting a girlfriend of mine who was in a psychiatric hospital because her boyfriend broke up with her and she couldn't handle it. And when I was in there visiting with her, I met a lot of people in there that were just totally messed up, had nervous breakdowns because of the sin of betrayal in their lives, people that had totally abandoned them or left them in some way. And tying into that is abandonment, because abandonment goes along with betrayal. Usually the person that should be there for us is not there for us. And Jesus, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, the Bible tells us when the soldiers came to arrest him, all of the disciples ended up running away. So not only did one of the disciples betray him, but all 12 of them abandoned him. They all left him high and dry when he needed them the most. He's about to go through the worst time of his life, and none of them stuck with him. And later on, Peter even denied him. And so we can see that Jesus was absolutely hurt in his heart by how his disciples treated him in his hour of need. And so the cross really dealt with those sins of abandonment, the sin of betrayal. These are the things that hurt us, whether we were hurt by somebody that did it to us, or maybe we hurt somebody because we betrayed them, or maybe we abandoned them. Many children are abandoned by one or both parents, and many husbands or wives are abandoned by their spouse. And so, people go through life where they feel like they've been ripped off or robbed of what was supposed to be. And they end up feeling devastated, hurt, unwanted, uncared about, and it really has a devastating effect on our lives. I remember shortly after my book came out, a pastor called me to thank me for writing the book, and he said it saved his life. And he shared, and this was a pastor I didn't know. He was from California, never met him, and he said he was about to commit suicide. He'd actually written a suicide note. He was in his office with a gun on his desk, and he was about to take his own life because he had been through the worst betrayal of his life. And he said his eyes happened to fall on my book on the cross, and he opened it up and he read on the chapter on betrayal, and God set him free and delivered him. And so that's why this is so important. Jesus went through betrayal, and he was abandoned for us. He did it so that when we go through these things, we know we're not alone, and that he understands the pain that we're going through. He can relate to us. He knows the suffering that we experience when people do harm to us. And so as we go through life, we're going to have things happen to us. And Jesus experienced every possible horrible thing and even more than what we could ever go through. But he did it because he loves you. He did it because he wanted you to know that he understands what you're going through. He knows the pain you're in. He knows how hard it is to be abandoned by somebody or to be betrayed by somebody. And so with that, he still continued to obey God. He still continued to thank God. He still continued to stay true to God so that he could accomplish the purpose God had for him, which was actually going to get worse as he went and continued on in his passion. So I don't know if you've been through betrayal or if you've been abandoned, but if you have, God is reaching out to you in love because he went there. He went there for you. So God bless you.